My name is Eddie, and I am a therapist in New Jersey who specializes in stress, anxiety, trauma, and PTSD. So, in today's video, I want to talk a little bit about gratitude and the importance of gratitude on mental health. I was inspired to record this video after working with a client, a recent client, and as we have just kind of passed the Easter holiday, I thought it was probably appropriate. I was inspired to record a video to talk about gratitude and kind of taking some of these recent holidays of Passover and Ramadan and Easter to talk about, gratitude and the meaning of gratitude and how it can help us, right? So I started working with a client who recently lost her niece, her 4-year-old niece. And she reached out to me because she wanted to process the grief and the loss of her niece. And as we're talking in a consultation call, I said to her, I'm hearing all of these things, and I said to her, one of the things that I often do, especially in the beginning of doing work together, is to ask you in session to name 20 things that you're grateful for, right? And I said that as a precursor because I know oftentimes during periods of grief and sadness and loss, gratitude is kind of the last thing you want to talk about, or it feels very superficial to talk about it. And so I wanted to put that up front, especially because she was dealing with loss. And it opened the door for us to be having a discussion about gratitude and Eddie, what I know we haven't even started working together yet, but I'm telling you, I don't know that I have it in me to be grateful for anything. I just can't. I'm just angry and I'm sad and I'm upset and I am this angry at God and all of these things, right? And as I'm listening to her, I acknowledge all of those things and I said, that's okay. That's the point. You can be all of those things and you can still be grateful. And it opened the door to dialogue about often a lot of the things that we say to people in times of despair or with mental illness or just the struggles and seasons of our lives that we experience, is that people often say to us well, at least be lucky that X, Y, and Z, at least be glad that she's not suffering anymore, or that she's, you had 4 years with her, or that, whatever it is, it's almost like a substitute for the grief to say, yeah, I know you're hurting, but, be grateful. And I feel like that is often a turnoff for a lot of people. And I know that as a therapist. So I know that going in, that people who come to me in periods of despair and just sadness and being in an awful place in their life cannot see what are you talking about gratitude? I don't want to hear it. And then you're asking me to identify 20 things. Are you crazy? And I just say, yeah, and part of it is that you can be all of those things. You can be grateful and you can be upset and you should be all of those things. You're a 3-dimensional person and you should be all of those things. And so we talk about what it means to have a gratitude practice. And I explained to her, I use the story of Jesus, right? Regardless of whether you practice or believe or that's your religion or whatever it is, I always preface it. I didn't grow up with religion. I've just heard the story of Jesus, and so I listen to things and I listen to the stories of it, and I live in the space of trying to make meaning out of the stories that I hear. It's not about believing, but it's about recognizing these stories exist in people's lives and hearts and brains. And so, trying to make sense of these stories that we hear. And I described to her my understanding of Jesus, right? And so I proceeded to tell her about how, I think I was like 5 or 6 years old when I heard the story of this Jesus who was born to a woman through immaculate conception, where an angel said to her that you will, I guess, carry this child who will be the savior of the world. And she raises him, and he, does these good works. And then at some point he is crucified, and then he dies for our sins, and then he's reborn 3 days later. And that is why we celebrate Easter, right? So I was like 5, 6, 7 when I first heard the story. And as you continue to hear the story, I think especially as I got older and you start to question everything, and you start to try to make meaning out of these things, like why are all these people dying over this religion, and all of these things. And as I got older, I think I just started to think about, the meaning of all of these things, right? So here is a God that says to a mother that you are going to have this child that will ultimately be sacrificed and will die, but will save humanity. So in theory, that kind of sounds great, but you're still a mother at the end of the day. You've raised this child. This child may have fears. And you still give this child, Jesus, this notion of purpose and meaning. And this is your path. And even though she knows that he is going to suffer, she continues on this path. And then you hear the story of, I guess, Good Friday, or the 3 days before Easter, where he is tried and he is crucified. And yet again, this mother has to watch her child be spit on and suffer and have pain. And now she still knows that he is saving humanity, but she has to watch helplessly while he has this journey. And then she has to watch him die, and she has to take him off the cross, and she has to, prepare him for death, and then sees him as he has arisen and is like, I am no longer suffering, right? So even though she knows all of these things, that still doesn't take away the fact that in that process, she's grieving. She's having this loss. Even though the ultimate end result is that you know why this is happening, because a lot of times we don't know why these bad things happen, but even though she knows why this is happening, which is for humanity's soul, she still is in a period of suffering and grief and sadness and possible anger, and why would you give me this child only to take this child away from me? But she continues on. And I use that story to try to explain gratitude, right? It is even in the depths of despair and suffering, and a lot of times we don't know why these things are happening in our lives or why bad things happen, that we're trying to make meaning and we're trying to find purpose for ourselves to continue. That is the gratitude, right? That is I can still take breath. And if I can still take breath, gratitude, I can still be grateful for breath, then I can get up today and try to make meaning and try to have purpose and try to have influence in the world. Hopefully, knock on wood, every good thing, that you're making meaning and making purpose in your life. And so to have gratitude is to recognize, I can be sad, I can be angry, I can be all of the things, and you should be. Anybody that says to me, yeah, I just live in the land of positivity all the time and this is great, and I think that's a little, to be honest, I think that's a little weird, and I would kind of look at someone with okay. But it is about saying that even in the depths of despair, even in the sadness and in the not knowing why things happen, that we can still find gratitude for breath. We can still find gratitude for the water that we drink to help us get up, for just for the food that we can eat. Whatever it is, right? It's about creating perspective a little bit as best as you can, as best as you can. And I, as a therapist, I so encourage a gratitude practice as well as a meditation practice. I I consider a gratitude practice the same way that I would consider brushing my teeth and I just do it without a second guess, and it takes a habit, like with all things when you're learning to brush your teeth or shower or get dressed or go somewhere new. It's always going to be a little bit weird in the beginning, but over time it just becomes automatic. And I think ultimately by having a gratitude practice, you kind of put things in perspective, right? Like I look at it as there will be ebbs and flows, and you will have good and you will have bad, and things will happen both good and bad. Sometimes that makes sense, sometimes that don't make sense. But if you can have, like a balance of gratitude, then you're not inclined to be up or down when anything happens, good and bad, right? Like this stuff happens all the time. Life is not static. But if you can have something that is consistent, like a gratitude practice, you can find the light, little peak of light in the darkness, right? It is like focusing on your breath. I still have breath. I can't even tell you the amount of times, it's allergy seasons here in New Jersey, and the amount of times that I have been congested where you just are like, I hate being congested. And then the minute you can breathe, like, oh my God, like you just are so grateful and thankful that you can breathe. But how often are we walking around breathing with two clear nostrils and we don't even acknowledge or have gratitude for that? So things that we take for granted, when we don't have these things that we begrudge and we moan and we get upset about. But when you have things, we're just like, oh, let's just ignore it, or let's not pay attention to these good things that are happening, or to just things that are in our lives, period, that we're benefiting from. So I'm going to end this video by listing 20 things that I'm grateful for. And again, people are surprised when they're like, 20 things, like that's crazy. And every week you want me to come up with something grateful, and you're like, yeah, because it's easier than you think once you're in the practice of it, right? So I'm going to start with my 20. And again, if you've worked with me, you know that I often do this, and this is what it is, right? I am grateful for my pillows. I love my pillows. I am grateful for coffee. I am grateful for having water to drink and shower and laundry, water that allows me to do all of the things. I am grateful for having money in the bank that I can have a roof over my head and feed my family and pay for groceries and all of those things. Even if it's like not a lot, there's money there that I can do these things. I'm grateful for the roof over my head. I'm grateful for electricity. I'm grateful that right now, like, I can record this video on my phone with power and electricity that allows me to function. I am grateful for my gas station attendant, because I could fill my own gas, but in New Jersey, we have gas station attendants that fill our gas. And I'm grateful for that guy and that girl who work and get me, my gas once a week. I'm grateful for paved roads. I'm grateful for red, yellow, green lights, traffic lights, because there's order amongst chaos. I'm grateful for tea. I love drinking tea in the afternoons because I can't drink coffee past 1 o'clock, but I still need to get my water. I'm grateful for plants. Plants make me happy, and they're a living being that I try to take care of as best as I can, but I'm not always great. I'm grateful for pens and pencils and writing utensils, period, because I can jot down my thoughts all the time, including my gratitude. I'm grateful for my mind. I have a mind that is kind of woo-woo and kind of thinks about a lot of stuff, but I love that my mind, I love that. I love my brain. I love my mind. I love my mind, and I'm grateful for it. I am grateful for good knees. I am grateful for the ability to walk, and I'm trying to get 10,000 steps a day, and I have knees that allow me to do that. Sometimes they creak, and sometimes they're sore, but they show up for me every day. I'm grateful for the clothes on my back. I am grateful for uh, Pinterest, because I get a lot of great meal ideas, especially when I get bored with something. I am grateful for Pinterest and really great ideas. I'm grateful for authors who have written books that I gobble up and love reading about. I'm grateful for authors. I am grateful for cleaning supplies, because when I spill my coffee or my tea, I have like any product under the sun via Pinterest that has said to me, this is the thing that can help you remove stains and coffee stains and all that thing. So I am grateful for that. And finally, I am grateful for love in my life. I have people in my life that love me and that I love in return, and they just make my life have meaning, and they get me up every morning, even when I don't want to, and even when I'm having a horrible feeling day or things are happening that are chaotic, and life sucks, but there's someone in my life who I know that I either can call or that I can show up for, and that loves me, and so I am grateful for love in my life, and to know love, right? To know what love is, so that I can receive it and I can give it. I'm grateful for magazines. I'm grateful for tape. I'm grateful for blue tape and Scotch tape. I'm grateful for birds. I love hearing birds chirping in the morning. I am grateful for heat when it gets cold. I have heat. Knock on wood. I'm grateful for magnets, because when I have to post things on my refrigerator about what needs to get done when, I have magnets that put them on put it on my refrigerator. I am grateful for garbage cans, because I have somewhere to put my garbage instead of on the floor. I'm grateful for soap. Soap. Who knows? Washing your hands and getting dirt off of you. Grateful for that. I'm grateful for sponges, again, to help me wipe things up. I'm grateful for scissors, because I can clip coupons before I go to the store. And now I have apps on my phone that allow me to have digital coupons, so that I can clip coupons without having to waste paper. So I think those were 30 things, maybe a little bit more, but it just goes to show you that there are things. And my breath, I can breathe today. Like I can breathe today, right? So it just goes to show you that you can engage in the process of gratitude, even when your mess is a hot mess of a life. There are things that you can find gratitude for, that again puts things in perspective and allows you to just get up and do what you got to do, and to tackle whatever you're facing. So I leave you with that. I am going to try to focus the month of May on gratitude and kind of sharing things to foster and support gratitude, so that we focus on, what it is that we have, as well as acknowledging the things that we don't have, but also trying to foster greater awareness towards the thing that we do have, and just building on that. So thank you for joining me and for watching this video, and let me know if you're engaging in a gratitude practice, and some of the things that you're grateful for. I would love to hear those things. And thank you so much. Take care. Bye.